It's the Q&A. It's the Q&A video. That was not my intro song. Hello and welcome back to Pronunciation with Emma, or welcome if it's your first time here. This would be a very strange video for you to land on if it was your first time here. Maybe go and watch some of my pronunciation videos, because today we're going to be doing a Q&A. I've had crazy growth over the past few months, the past few years even. I think the last time I did a Q&A, it was like half the size of the current audience I have. So yeah, this channel's growing so fast. Thank you so much if you subscribed, if you're watching my content. I really appreciate it. I remember I first started and I thought, like, I started my channel about 4 or 5 years ago, and I thought to myself, I'm never really, like, I made peace with the fact that my channel was never really going to grow as much as if I, say, did a more general English channel, because it's so niche and it's so specific. And many people told me, like, Emma, you're not going to grow a YouTube channel just focusing on pronunciation, but we proved them wrong, so yeah. To those people. So I asked you guys on Instagram and YouTube to send me your questions. I've picked out, well, I didn't pick them out, they've been picked out randomly by someone else, about 20 questions. So yeah, I'm gonna try and do them like rapid fire, but some questions might take a little bit longer than others because they're a bit deeper and require a bit of a longer answer. What's your MBTI? So the MBTI is a test to tell you what kind of personality you have. There are 16 different personality types, I think, in this test, and if you take the test, it tells you which type of personality you have. I have taken this test a number of times throughout my life, like at different stages of my life, and I've always got the same one. So sometimes when you take these personality tests, you end up getting different results, but mine always seem to be the same. And the one that I always seem to get is the advocate. I get the INFJ personality. That one's mine. If I quickly recall my screen, I can tell you what this says about my personality. So it says here about the advocate personality, the INFJ type, because there are like two types. There's like A and T, and I'm the T type. I need to find out what the difference is there, but the T type is like the turbulent type or something. I think it's like the one where you're more stressed. The way it describes this personality is idealistic and principled. People with the INFJ personality type, the advocates, aren't content to coast through life. They want to stand up and make a difference. Which is definitely me. For these compassionate personalities, success doesn't come from money or status, but from seeking fulfillment, helping others, and being a force for good in the world. That is me. That is me. That's so creepy. That's so... Actually, I've not read this before. Or maybe I did, but it was years ago. And that's so creepily true. It really is. I get more of a feeling of enjoyment and pleasure and success seeing other people do well, and I guess that's partly why I became a teacher. I like to see my students succeed, and I get more gratification from that than anything else. So it goes on here and it talks about seeking purpose, perhaps because their personality type is so uncommon. Yeah, apparently INFJs are quite uncommon. It's like one of the rarest personality types. INFJs tend to carry around a sense, whether conscious or not, of being different from most people. What? That's... With their rich inner lives and their deep abiding desire to find their life purpose, they don't always fit in with those around them. Oh my god, that's me. This isn't to say that INFJ personalities can't enjoy social acceptance or close relationships. That's true, like I have a social life, I have friends. Only that they sometimes feel misunderstood or at odds with the world. Oh my god, that is me. So yeah, maybe the test is quite accurate. I remember there was something like about weaknesses as well. Let me see if I can find a personal mission. Oh, many INFJ personalities feel that their life feels that their life has a unique purpose, a mission that they were put on this earth to fulfill. Oh my god, that's me. What? Okay, here we are, strengths and weaknesses. Let's see my weaknesses. There's me like focusing on the downsides of my personality. My INFJ weaknesses are sensitive to criticism. I think the problem is when it comes to criticism is that I'm sensitive in the sense that I only really value criticism when it comes from a place that actually cares about me growing and it cares about me, if that makes sense. And it's not criticism that's like stupid criticism. So it's more like, I don't know, something like, oh, why are you wearing that green shirt? You know, that's like stupid criticism. But if it was something like, oh, Emma, if you change your shirt to red, it would stand out more. Like that would be more what my brain focuses on. What does it say? Does it say that? INFJs are often averse to criticism, especially if they believe that someone is challenging their own cherished principles or beliefs. When it comes to the issues that are near and dear to them, people with this personality type can become defensive, dismissive, or angry. Okay, reluctant to open up. That's me, for sure. Avoiding the ordinary. That's true. Very, very true. Prone to burnout. That's why I literally took 8 months off YouTube. Well, this person also asked a few other cheeky questions in their comments, so rapid fire. Where do you dream to travel? I plan to travel just this year. I plan to travel to Thailand and Vietnam. I feel like another country is gonna sneak in there as well, but I'm not too sure. So if you can recommend a country that's easy to get to from Vietnam or Thailand, then let me know, because those two are on my list for this year. And a funny or sad story about you at school. Love you so much. Thank you. I can't think of one right now. Let me leave this one and I'll tell one later in the video. Which book changed your perspective completely? There are 2 books I want to mention. There's one book which I actually have here right next to me, and the other book I want to mention, I don't know where it is. It changed my life so much that I've hidden it away. No. I'm down. We found them. One book I want to mention is the 4,000 Weeks book. So 4,000 Weeks, Time Management for Mortals by Oliver Burkeman. This book just took away a lot of my anxiety. This book basically talks about the fact that you're never going to accomplish everything that you want to in your life. I know that sounds really depressing. That's something that used to bring me quite a lot of anxiety, and it used to really make me feel quite depressed. I've talked about like my feelings of depression before on social media, and this book has definitely helped with some of those feelings of like this fear I have of not being able to accomplish everything in my life. And this just basically tells you it makes you see things from a different perspective, so you don't worry about those sorts of things more. It teaches you how to accept that you're not going to accomplish everything, and that you should focus on the things you have accomplished and that you can accomplish, instead of trying to focus on everything else and stressing out over those things. And then the second book is this one here. So this is the life-changing, it's really dirty, is this book. I think I took it to the beach with me and there was a banana in my bag and it's like stained and disgusting. But this is called The Life-Changing Magic of Not Giving a by Sarah Knight. So I recommend this one. The only thing I would say is that she swears a lot in this book. And I mean, I'm from Yorkshire. We swear a lot up in Yorkshire, and I swear a lot like off camera when I'm not teaching. But she swears a lot, and sometimes it's a bit jarring. It's a bit like, do you really need to swear this much? It's a bit too much sometimes. But if you can get past the swearing, she teaches you some techniques. I mean, here she talks about how to stop spending time you don't have doing things you don't want to do with people you don't like. That just sums up the book completely. What's the most embarrassing lesson you've ever had? 10 years ago when I first started teaching English, it was my first ever like proper teaching job. There was a time when I did feel really embarrassed, and it wasn't embarrassing in the sense of like hee hee ha ha, like embarrassed. It was like I genuinely felt really embarrassed and ashamed of myself. And it was when I was teaching this group of teenagers, and it wasn't really fair, to be honest, because this group had like, although everyone was the same level, everyone was at such different ages. So there were some kids in there who were like 16, 17, but there were also like 13-year-olds. And of course, a 13-year-old and a 17-year-old, they're at completely different stages of their lives, and you're talking about completely different topics and stuff with them. Yeah, sometimes it was quite hard doing that, but I did the best I could at the time with the knowledge and skills I had at the time. And I remember there were only a few students in this one particular lesson. I think there was like 5 or 6 students, but there was this one student in particular, a girl from Turkey, and I remember she was always so rude, so dismissive. She was like, I don't know, 13 or 14 years old at the time. What she used to do was she would wear like a long-sleeved top, and she would feed like her phone wire like through her sleeve so she could listen to music from her phone while in the lesson. And I used to just think like, aren't you embarrassed? Like, I used to think like, why isn't she embarrassed about doing that? Like, her parents have literally paid thousands for her to be here, and there she is, just like, just been an ungrateful girl. And she was so disruptive because of course she wasn't listening half the time, and I would tell her like, what are you doing? Take that out, like stop doing that. But after like 5 minutes she would do it again. It was just exhausting telling her. So it got to the point where I was like, I'm not even going to tell you anymore, because by telling you I'm just disrupting the lesson and I'm disturbing everyone else. Like, it's not fair on everyone else. So yeah, basically this girl, yeah, she would just be like, what are you saying, what are you saying? And because she didn't know what was going on, she would disturb students around her, and some of the students complained about me. I was pulled into the office and they said, look, you know, these students in your class have complained about you. And I explained the situation. I was like, look, you're gonna have to take this Turkish girl out of my class because she's the problem. Like, it's not me. I felt so embarrassed because I was like, I'm really, really trying my best here, and I've got a group of kids who think that this teacher's just not competent. This teacher's a bad teacher. You know, they were seeing me as a bad teacher because of this one student that was disrupting the class. So I remember feeling really embarrassed in that situation, but luckily that's never happened since then, and they actually took that girl out of the class and put her like somewhere else. I don't know where. Didn't care. Still don't care. Did Freya change your life? Tell us some pros and cons about having a pet. Have a good day. Thank you. Did Freya change my life? 100%. Pros, everything is a pro. You have a friend for life. They always want to play with you. They are cute and cuddly. They keep you warm at night. You can tell them everything. They won't tell people your secret. She's amazing. She makes me smile all the time, and she's always wanting to spend time with me, and yeah, she's my absolute best friend. Cons, I would say, is just picking up her poo every day. And sometimes if I have like a lot of work on and I really, really need to focus on that work and she wants to go out, I know I need to take her out for a walk and to go have a pee. I will just be so deep in my work, and for her to come along and disrupt that, sometimes that's a bit of a downside to having a pet. They need your attention, they have certain needs, and I definitely never neglect those needs, but sometimes I'm like, I really need to finish doing this, like, and it disrupts the flow a little bit, but it's fine. I'm trying to look at it more as like, she's reminding me to take breaks. So instead of thinking, oh, she's disturbing me, I'm thinking it as like, oh, break time. If anything, it's still a good thing. Who's your best friend? My best friend is my dog Freya. I definitely have some very close friends. There are some teachers that I talk to who I'm very close with. I also have people who are not teachers that I'm very close with, but yeah, the problem is that my friends are like all over the world. So if there's a time where I'm like, oh, I just fancy going out for a coffee and having a chat or something, there isn't really anyone that I can like call up in Barcelona sometimes because a lot of my friends are quite busy. Kind of miss that, but yeah, I have friends everywhere. I guess it means that I have a place to stay in like loads of different countries, so it's still a good thing. Why did you choose phonetics in your studies and channel? So there's kind of two questions here. The first one, why did I choose phonetics? I actually studied English language and linguistics at university, and my master's was in TESOL education. The TESOL education master's degree didn't have anything specifically on phonetics and phonology, but in my linguistics degree, we definitely did focus on phonetics and phonology. And I studied British phonetics and phonology and American phonetics and phonology. I just enjoyed it. That was it. I just liked it. There's no other reason. I was just intrigued by it. When I started teaching, so I finished my degree, did my master's, and then I started teaching, blah, 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 I realized that not many people taught pronunciation, and my students didn't really know much about pronunciation either. So I quickly realized in my lessons, so this is basically how my channel started. I remember I was teaching privately in Bristol. In one particular lesson, I remember I was saying to a student, like, oh, do you have a car? Something, asking about a car. They were like, car? Car? What do you mean? I'm like, a car? They're like, a car? Like, they were still confused. So I wrote on the board, car, and they were like, oh, car, or car. And I was like, no, it's car. So it made me realize that a lot of students weren't really taught about pronunciation and different ways of saying things. Maybe they'd only been exposed to American English, or they had learned car and they thought that car was the way that everyone said it. You know, for context, this person was a Spanish speaker. I used to tell my students, right, I want you to go and research the sound for your homework. I want you to practice the sound and practice sentence stress and practice this, da da da. And they used to come back to me, the next lesson and say, oh, Emma, I couldn't find anything on YouTube. I couldn't find anything on Google that talked about what we did last lesson. And this wasn't just one student. This was like quite a few students. And I thought, these students, they're not searching properly enough. They're a bit lazy, you know? So I would do some research for them and I would find a few things, but there was nothing that went into like great detail. And I really, really, really wish at the time there was a YouTube channel that existed that talked only about British English pronunciation and British English accents, because at the time there wasn't really that much that focused on this topic. So I thought, you know what, Emma, be the change you want to see in the world and create videos that will fill that gap, because there was nothing at the time. So I jumped in and helped fill that gap. Would you ever go to South America? Yes, I have also been to South America. So I've been to Brazil, Argentina, and Uruguay, because my boyfriend's family's from Uruguay. So I have strong connections with Uruguay. Some countries that I'd really like to go to over there. I mean, honestly, I would like to go to many countries. Right now, I've just got my mind set on Asia. But some countries I'd really like to go to. I'd love to go to Peru. That's like high on my list, is going to Peru. There are lots of countries I want to go to in South America. So if you can recommend any places, particularly cities or anything like that, let me know in the comments. Are you single? This was the most common question I got. No, I am not single, and I haven't been single for about 10 years. I have been with my boyfriend for, as I said, over 10 years now, about 10 and a half years. And you might be thinking, well, Emma, it's 10 years, like, why are you married? And we kind of are married. So in Spain, there's something called pareja de hecho. It's like a domestic couple, or kind of like a civil partnership. It's kind of hard to describe because it doesn't exist. It doesn't exist in England. It doesn't exist in many other countries, but it's basically in between being a boyfriend and girlfriend, or boyfriend, girlfriend, and being married. So it's like the midway point. So that's what we are. So we're not married, but we're not like boyfriend, girlfriend. Does that make sense? We're like still joined in the eyes of the Spanish law. When did you start turning into a vegetarian, and why? I love how this question's phrased, because naturally we would say, when did you become vegetarian? I would say about 4 or 5 years ago, I decided to become vegetarian. I never really liked touching meat before then. I didn't like cooking with meat. I didn't like blood. I didn't like thinking this was an animal. And I particularly didn't like it when the food had bones in it, or you could see eyes, or you could see elements of like how it was once an animal. For example, if it was like a full chicken, you know, or a full turkey or something. Yeah, I never ever liked it. And I just thought, you know, I don't like it. Like, this isn't me. I feel like I'm following a societal norm. Like, it's so normalized to eat a dead animal, and I just find that so weird. I wanted to change that, and for me the trigger was I was just scrolling on Facebook one day, that's how long ago it was, like Facebook showed me this video and it was a pig in a slaughterhouse. Normally, we would just scroll past these videos like, oh no, I don't want to see that. And we're quite ignorant to these things. Like, I don't want to see it. It doesn't exist. And, you know, I'm going to carry on eating bacon, right? Because it's comfortable. It's comfortable for us. And we don't want to watch those videos because it makes us uncomfortable. It makes us confront where our food comes from. It makes us confront what we already know subconsciously, right? I watched this video and I just forced myself to watch it and I was just in tears. I was in floods of tears watching this video and I thought, I can't contribute to this anymore. I cannot contribute to this. This is evil, it's disgusting, and I don't want to be a hypocrite, because if I'm telling people it's disgusting to do this, yeah, I'm going to the supermarket and buying pork chops later, you know? It's really hypocritical. Really hypocritical. And I remember I used to tell people, oh, I love animals. How can you say you love animals when you pay someone to kill them so you could eat the meat off their bones? Like, for me, it just didn't make sense anymore. So I made the change, and the change for me was quite gradual. So I started by cutting out pork, because I never really liked pork. That was an easy thing for me to cut out. Then I cut out red meat, then I cut out chicken, and then the last thing I cut out was fish. And actually, fish and shellfish was the hardest for me to cut out, because I was like, I really like the taste of it. But I just educated myself more on the impact that the entire animal processing industry creates. And yeah, I just thought, I want a better planet, I want to feel better, and I don't want to kill animals. And it's as simple as that. People are very welcome to carry on eating meat. I get people saying stupid things like, if you're not eating meat, I'm going to eat double. And I say, you do what you want. But at the end of the day, I'm doing what I want, and I feel comfortable with that decision. So yeah. When you were learning another language, what thing was hardest, speaking or grammar? I would say the hardest thing when learning other languages. So for people who don't know, every 2 to 3 years I learn a new language. Right now I'm learning Japanese. And I would say the hardest thing is not necessarily speaking or grammar. It's more of like a mental thing. So when you tell yourself like, oh, this is hard, you instantly create this mental block where your brain's like, oh, this is hard, and therefore it becomes more difficult for you to learn. I've definitely found that within my own brain and my own language studies. For me, it's more of like a mental shift. Instead of looking at Japanese and being like, oh my goodness, I'm never gonna learn 3 alphabets, see it as like, you know what? I can do this. 3 alphabets, I'll take it 1 alphabet at a time. And you just learn and you do it step by step, and you make sure you track yourself and you set very achievable, clear, reachable goals, and gradually you get there and you learn 3 alphabets in Japanese. How many siblings do you have? I have 2 brothers, 2 younger brothers. I'm the big sister. What hobbies have you picked up since you slowed down from giving classes? So in 2023, I stopped doing private lessons to focus on YouTube, my business, having a mental breakdown, stuff like that. Some hobbies that I've picked up. I would say I haven't picked up new hobbies. I've just gone back to old ones that I didn't have the time to do. So I go climbing more, I go for more walks, especially since having Freya, like I've given birth to her, since getting Freya. I go on more walks, I go jogging more. I try to do like little creative things. Some things I do is like gardening, so I really enjoy in the summer like planting seeds and watching them grow and nurturing them and turning them into plants and then taking the fruit, and yeah, just like seeing the whole process of that. So have you ever met someone who made you traumatized the most in real? I guess this means like in real life. For sure, yes. I don't want to get too deep by talking about my traumatic experiences in life, but I can definitely say that I've had experiences with online stalkers who have tried to come find me, who have harassed me. I've actually had to get the police involved one time because someone was stalking me and they would not leave me alone. So yes. Can you speak and understand Catalan? So a bit of context, I live in Barcelona, which is in Spain, but Barcelona more specifically is in a region called Catalonia. And in Catalonia, they speak Spanish and Catalan. I can understand Catalan. Like, I'm definitely not fluent in Catalan. And actually, I can't speak Catalan. This might sound really, really weird to some of you, but I'm like a very passive Catalan learner, so I can read it, I can listen to it. I've been to conferences where the talks are entirely in Catalan and I've understood absolutely everything, but I can't speak it. And that's simply because I've just not had the practice, and I've not studied the language in order to be able to speak it, you know? How old are you? I am 31. Do you believe pronunciation is important and accent isn't? This is such a good question. I believe pronunciation and accent are both important, but in different ways. So I believe pronunciation is important to ensure that you're clear, that other people can understand you. Accent is important because it forms your identity. That's it. What is your weakest aspect? Oh my god, I need to have a think about this one. If we get a little bit deep and personal, is that I have a tendency to self-sabotage a little bit. So I have this fear that if I create something or if I have something, it's going to be taken away. And in order to feel that control, I sometimes take that thing away myself. But there are times, I would say, like in my personal life with certain things, or like my business, I will take them away myself because I have it in the back of my head that someone's going to take it away from me anyway. It's a really horrible feeling. Maybe I need some more therapy sessions on that. What would you be doing if you weren't an English teacher? Oh, for a final question, I love this. What would I be doing? So when I was younger, I really wanted to do something with animals. So I wanted to either be a vet or a marine biologist or something like that. And there was a time when I was thinking about potentially changing careers and doing nursing or being a doctor, like studying medicine. Again, doing something to like help people. I guess it's quite similar to teaching. I'm helping people. So I was looking at other professions where I could help people or help animals or something. I don't know what I would be doing. I think right now, if I pulled the plug and I wasn't doing teaching at all, I would probably go more into writing and copywriting. That's something I do now, is copywriting, and I ghost copyright content for English teaching companies. Maybe you've read things that I've written, but you didn't know it was me. So yeah, right now I would move more into writing, but yeah, if you ask like my inner child, Emma, what would I be doing instead? It'd be something to do with animals. Perhaps like having a shelter and rescuing animals. I think I would do something like that, like an animal rescue shelter or something. I don't think I'd make much money out of that, but I would at least change the lives of many animals who have been abandoned. I think that's probably what I would do. Now, going back to the first question, tell us a funny or sad story about you at school. I was thinking about this while making the video, and my school days were very strange. So when I was in primary school, I had a great time in primary school, and then when I was 8 years old, we moved to another town, and of course I had to move to a different primary school, and I just really hated people in that primary school. I really do. Really did and still do. And then when we went to secondary school, again, I just really hated my time in secondary school as well. I could not wait to leave. So I don't have the best stories from school because I was bullied quite a lot. I didn't have many friends. I didn't like school. I didn't like my teachers. They had absolutely no passion. They just didn't care at all. I remember being in my French lesson once. The teacher, she was just, you could just tell she hated her job and she hated kids and she hated the school and she hated her life, I think. I can still remember one time, I think I was like 12 or 13 years old, and I learned how to tell the time quite late in life. Yeah, there was like 12-year-old Emma learning how to tell the time in French, and I couldn't even tell the time in English. Like I couldn't read a clock. shock. I remember we had to do this test on telling the time in French and I failed, and she brought me up to the front of the class and she basically said, you know, Emma, why did you fail this test? Didn't you study? And I said, yeah, I studied. Yeah, I studied. She's like, oh, can't you read the time or something? And no, I couldn't, but I wasn't going to admit that in front of the whole class, you know, of a group of teenagers, like, oh yeah, I can't read the time. So yeah, that was a real rubbish moment, you know, that teacher. It's definitely made me be more aware of the things that I say to my students. This is the same teacher that also told us, like, you don't even need to learn French because everyone in the world speaks English. And of course, if you say that to a group of teenagers, they're going to believe it and they're not going to want to learn French. They're not going to be motivated in your lessons. So yeah, I wasn't surrounded by the most motivating teachers when I was at school. I remember there was only one teacher in particular where he used to get so enthusiastic when I asked him questions. So he was my science teacher for about a year or two, and he would like come running over like, oh amazing, tell me your question, Emma. And I used to get so excited about that. But that definitely wasn't the majority of teachers. A lot of the teachers there, really, you could just tell they hated their job and their life and kids and students. And I never ever wanted to be a teacher because that's what I thought being a teacher was. So I'm glad that I'm a teacher now and that's not how my life is. So that's it for this Q&A. I hope you've enjoyed it and you've learned some more things about me. If you're brand new here, then subscribe to my channel. If you are a regular person here, regular viewer, then give this video a like. I have nothing really to ask you in the comments. I should always ask something in the comments, but tell me your favorite animal. Tell me your favorite animal in the comments. Enjoy the rest of your week and I will see you in the next lesson. Bye bye.